Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this very special community call. Today you are going to have a very special demo of the new version of Kleros that we have been working on for some time now. And this presentation will be in charge of JB. So without further ado, I will give JB the mic, and yeah, the floor is yours, JB, and good luck.
Hi, everyone. Yes, thank you all for joining today. I'll try to give you a good overview of the progress we've been doing on Kleros V2 for the past few months. So the last demo was in September last year, and we've progressed. Some of the progress is more or less visible. A lot of work has been done also on the backend and the middleware side. I'll start by sharing my screen.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I'll just go through a few slides. So Kleros V2, just a quick reminder. The first version of Kleros was launched in 2019. That's 4 years already. 4 years ago. And there's been a ton of progress in the space, much better tooling. There are layer 2s, and we are rebuilding a more modern version of the entire stack, and we are going cross-chain. We'll have cheaper disputes and also more modularity for the future. So, okay, skip this because we are going to see it. Maybe just an overview of what the long-term sort of vision is. That shows on the left side Arbitrum, which is our home chain, and on the right side, that's mainnet. Actually, where we are today, we chose Arbitrum because it's going to inherit from all the security of Ethereum L1 at some point in the future. We just don't know when right now. It could be maybe a year from now. And we are not comfortable migrating the entire court to Arbitrum until there's been more progress on the decentralization front of Arbitrum. So that being said, we can actually take some intermediate steps to still launch, maybe soft launch V2. And the idea now is to initially launch it as a replacement for the Gnosis chain arbitrator. So as you know, right now we have an arbitrator both on Gnosis chain on XDAI and on mainnet L1. So you could actually imagine that the right side is Gnosis chain. Not all of the arbitrables exist on that chain, but a number of them, mostly curated currently. So the idea is to have a plan to start resolving disputes on Arbitrum, but which originate from Gnosis chain. All right. Okay. Maybe I won't get into the bridges too much right now. Okay, so there's one difficulty that I'd like to mention. Something that made things a bit complicated. So currently on mainnet on Ethereum, the arbitrables pay for the dispute fees in ETH because it's the native currency of the network. And it's the same thing on Gnosis chain. The arbitrables pay the dispute fee in DAI, next DAI. And now Arbitrum V2 is expecting fees also in the native currency in Arbitrum ETH. So if you actually want to relay disputes from Gnosis chain to Arbitrum, we we have some issues. We have some currency conversions to do, which means that there's going to be some currency risk somewhere. So there are many ways that we could address it. We could, but because of the duration of the dispute, of the role of the arbitration, which could be from a week to like over a month, the jurors could ultimately be exposed to this currency risk, and we don't really want that. So, for example, at the time that the dispute is created on this chain, the market price of ETH in dollars might be 1,500, and that's how much the arbitrable is going to pay. And maybe it takes a month to resolve the dispute. If ETH has gone down to 1,000, then the jurors are going to either win or lose, depending on the direction of the market. And we could actually shift the problem to the bridge. So we could also do some conversions at the bridge level, or we could let the arbitrator manage the currency exchange. There's a bunch of ways of doing it. Like even the more sophisticated one that maybe could be interesting in the future would be to maybe use some on-chain futures or options to hedge that currency risk. And on Arbitrum, there's a very vibrant ecosystem of options and futures on-chain at the moment. But okay, so for now, we are just taking a more simple approach, which is that the arbitrables on Gnosis chain are going to pay in wrapped ETH. And if they don't, we'll have a mechanism to swap it on Gnosis chain. So when we pass the dispute from Gnosis chain, the relayer is going to post some ETH on Arbitrum. And when the dispute is rolled and relayed to Gnosis chain, the relayer is going to get back some wrapped ETH, which will have been swapped on Gnosis chain at the time of the dispute creation. All right, so what is in scope for the demo today? We have redesigned the PNK staking experience. You will see it in a minute. We are using a different decentralized storage solution, which may or may not be a good thing, because it's very modern, but at the moment it's a bit not super stable. So we might actually change it again. We have a new source of randomness based on VRF to draw the jaws. And we are now cross-chain. So as I was saying, we'll do the arbitration on Arbitrum of a dispute coming from Shadow. We'll focus on the happy path for today. It's actually quite difficult to demo the unhappy path because of the 7 days delay. And we also have now the message batching using Merkle tree, which was not implemented at the last demo. On the front-end side, bear in mind that it's a mobile-first design, so we'll show it on a mobile screen right now, and later we'll make it, we'll enrich the front-end to look even better on desktop. Yeah, and we'll do more demos of other complicated features later. So today, we are going to imagine that we are reenacting this case, giving Nowoki's registration to prove of humanity. So yeah, okay, demo time. So by the way, you can find a lot of information on this case, on the famous Kleros cases in the Kleros documentation. So on Proof of Humanity, that was the profile of Kevin Oki when he applied. And he was challenged because of this picture, which was not looking at the camera, and that was a requirement in the policy.
Yerinden yönetim olması lazım. Merkezi yönetim anlayışının hızla terk edilmesi lazım. Yerele inisiyatif verilmesi lazım. Yerele imkan ve inisiyatif.
Okay, I don't know who's speaking. So, by the way, don't read too much into this particular choice of dispute. It really doesn't mean anything. I could have picked any dispute. It doesn't mean that the outcome should go anyway. All right, so you can see on the right, it's a mobile screen. That's the court. It's so right now we have a bunch of jurors staked. Well, should be mostly me. A bunch of cases that we have used for testing recently. So we can now see the general courts, and we could also navigate here through the hierarchy of courts. There's a bunch of numbers. So, okay, I need to connect. So I have currently 300 PNK staked. I could maybe add 100. So I have my wallet that popped up. I need to sign the transaction. I must, okay, that was unusually fast. The subgraph on the testnet has been quite slow. Sometimes it takes over a minute to refresh. And you could withdraw in this way. So the UX for this is much more similar to what you may be accustomed to on DeFi dApps. All right, so I should be at 350. $350 PNK, which is going to refresh at some point. So again, this is because we are on a testnet. Once we be on an Arbitrum mainnet, we are expecting the subgraphs to be much more responsive. Yep, 350. All right, so yeah, we also have the light mode. I'm not sure if you had seen it before. So all right, so let's create a dispute. So again, the dispute is going to come from Shadow, which is the Gnosis chain testnet. So I don't have a UI for this, but just imagine that there's a Proof of Humanity deployment on the testnet that created this dispute. Right, so it does a couple of things actually. It's sending some wrapped ETH to an arbitrable on Shadow, which then sends it to an a migrated version of the V1 court, which is backward compatible, and which can be used later to migrate the court on Gnosis chain. And then that's forwarded to a gateway, what we call the gateway. It's the Kleros specific component of the bridge. And itself, it's going to now we are going to relay it. It's completely permissionless for this part. So I just need to get the block hash and the just get this stuff. You won't have to worry about this once we are launched. That's going to be taken care of by some bots. And now what is happening is that on Arbitrum, a relayer, so myself, has relayed the dispute, and it's going to be called dispute 10, and it should show up. Yeah, okay, so it has just showed up here. So this is a proof of humanity registration request. We can vote yes or no. We can see the court policy, which we can also see here. And if you go back to the case, we can see the dispute policy, which is the proof of humanity policy. All right, so we are in evidence period at the moment. We could submit an evidence. I must say that this part has not been very reliable, but it's outside our control. It's so it's using. Okay, let's send something. Okay. So on the backend side, we have 10 seconds to upload this information to Filecoin, which is running on top of IPFS. And there's another provider in the middle. And yeah, they're not fully launched at the moment. We'll probably end up using another decentralized storage solution. So, all right, let's reconnect. It was working this morning, then it wasn't working in the afternoon, and still not working apparently. Just, all right. So the next step is to go to the voting period. So in this case, the bots would do a bunch of things. All right. Okay, so I'm lucky I've been drawn 3 times. Okay, I'll just finish passing all the phases and periods. Phase. Okay. So what happens is that we are relying on this VRF-based random number generator. We need to wait 10, 30 seconds for it to provide the random number. So that's probably what's failed. Pass phase. Yeah, cool. Okay. All right, so now we are going to move to the voting period. No, the VRF is not Chainlink, it's from randomizer.ai. All right, so, okay, we now have 1 minute, 30 seconds to vote. You can see it took about 30 seconds to show up. That's the time that the subgraph on testnet is taking. So, should it be accepted? Sure. Because we just remember to always justify your vote. So I'm sending this transaction. Yeah, so it's been executed. Okay, we're in the appeal period. Okay, and yeah, that's updated. So we could try funding one side. So I voted yes already. I have not tried this just before the demo, so okay, let's say, right. Let's say I'm funding this. I'm not planning to show the entire appeal round today. Just want to see what happens if I fund it. Okay. Okay. We need to see what happened. Yeah. Okay, so we'll just move to the execution period. Oh, maybe. Oh, I still need to wait a bit. Okay. There's also, we are using the block time for this, and this is not realistic because in reality, we would use a fairly long period, which is safe, but using block time for short durations is not reliable. So especially on L2 because it can be manipulated. So for testing, we have to use those short periods, especially for this demo. But it's okay, and now it's worked. So we are now in execution period, which is the final stage of the dispute. So anyone is now allowed to execute to call the arbitrable. So to pass the ruling on chain to the smart contract we are integrating with. And what's going to happen is that now we are going to go through the VIA bridge. So first, the Cord V2 is going to call our home gateway, which is our Kleros specific interface with the bridge. Itself is going to call the sending contract of VIA, and then we'll go through the bridging process. So this should be taken care of again by some automation. There won't be any need to look at it, to worry about it. We will probably build some kind of explorer for the bridge to be able to monitor where the transactions are. Yeah. All right. So now we can send the batch. I won't get too much into those details. Once I do this, I have 2 minutes as a participant in the VIA protocol. I have 2 minutes to make a claim. It's just a testing parameter. It's, in reality, it would be much longer. All right, so let's send the batch. Oh, by the way, the right side is Arbitrum Goerli and the left side is Shadow. So, okay. I need to grab this guy and this guy. Go. So we are now making a claim. Damn it. Okay, that works. Okay. So yeah, I just moved it to the next batch, next epoch. So, okay. So what happened, I've just made an optimistic claim, which anyone could do by looking at this proof of a batch of messages that exist on Arbitrum. And assuming that I've checked that the corresponding transactions have been written to L1, I can make a claim saying this proof exists for this particular epoch. And now there's a challenge period which lasts 3 minutes. And yeah, sorry, I'll have to say something interesting now for the next 3 minutes.
Maybe you can take some questions, JB, if someone has a question.
Sure. Yeah, if anyone has a question.
Hello.
Yes.
Question, JB. What makes Arbitrum more appealing than Gnosis, or what's the reason for the chain change?
Yes. So of course we want a cheaper chain, but we also want to not compromise the security too much of the code. There could be some high value cases. We've already had some cases with millions of dollars at stake. We believe that the rollups like Arbitrum or Optimism in the future will be nearly as safe as L1 as Ethereum mainnet. Gnosis chain is definitely going in the right direction, trying to decentralize as much as possible, which is great. And we are launching first on Gnosis chain, so we really love working with Gnosis chain. But yeah, it's long term. Maybe in the short term, right now it's probably more decentralized than Arbitrum. But in the long term, the rollup should be the most secure and decentralized.
Great, nice to know. So as I was following the presentation on the V2 of Kleros Court, the goal is that everything will take place in Arbitrum.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. So as a juror, you would only need to interact with Arbitrum.
Cool. Great. Those were my questions. Thank you, JB.
Thank you. All right, so 3 minutes have passed. We should be able now to call the verification function, which is going to mark the batch as verified if there hasn't been any challenge. I certainly haven't challenged it. Someone else could have challenged it. So let's see. Yeah, anyone can challenge it. Anyone can make a claim. That's quite specific to VR. All right, so the batch is verified. There was no challenge. And the next step is now to relay the message. So relaying it, one batch, what we have verified is a batch of messages. There could be a very large number of messages, and they must be relayed individually. Because, because of, most likely the incentive for the relaying of particular messages is different for different users. The gas usage could be very different. So we just let it open to possibly different participants to act as relayers. Verify and relay. So verify and relay, so we'll say that it's from this batch, and I want this message from the batch. And now the bridge is actually going to send the ruling that came out of the Court V2 on Arbitrum and send it back through the V1 court and then back to the arbitrable. So if you look at the events for this transaction, we can see that this is a ruling event. I don't know if you can see, actually, it's very small. We have this arbitrable contract. We received the ruling event for that particular ruling, and the bridge said that the message was relayed. And yeah, there we are. I'm sorry, we are just looking at the Explorer. We don't have a front end for this. But yes, in the future, if we have migrated Gnosis chain, it should be seamless. So the existing front ends should pick up the rolling from Arbitrum. And definitely the smart contracts, the existing arbitrables that our partners have developed will not require any change at all. So yeah, so that was our case that we were looking at. It's executed. And yeah, the rewards which have been redistributed is a bit higher than before. And yeah, I think that's about it. I'll be just going forward. Yeah, the plan now for Kleros V2 is to do a parallel run of the court and upgraded a V2 compatible court on this chain. So similar to what we have done today, we want this connected to the court V2 on Arbitrum to mirror existing real disputes taking place on the production court V1 on this chain right now. So if there is like a tag, the address tag registry or some other curation case that comes up on this chain right now, we could automatically create the same case on a parallel court, which this one talks to the court V2. We could have jurors being drawn for this case, and we could actually go through the whole process, but also see what comes out of it. It would be actually fun to see if the rulings are different. I don't know if it's going to be incentivized or not. If it's going to be what kind of token we'll use for this, but that should give us more confidence to move forward and in Q2 completely migrate the court V1 on this chain to actual V2. So that's sort of the goal. Q1 would be more testing, Q2 migrating this chain, and possibly other L1s like Polygon and BSC, because we think it shouldn't be too much more work. If you have this chain working, it shouldn't be much more work. And then Q3 will be new features, and yeah. All right, I'll leave it here. Yeah, if anyone has questions, otherwise you can find me on Twitter, on Telegram.
Thank you, JB. This was awesome. I'm guessing that the main question that people have is, where to buy. So it's in case available to buy Uniswap, Bitfinex, and other select partners, exchanges. So yeah. So you go buy so you can be jewelers in this new course that is, yeah. So you've seen a full cycle of how a dispute works. Took a week more than what we expected, but there you go. It's done live. And well, we will of course upload this video and we will cut out the dead times. Of course, as you know, this is what happens when you do a live demo. But we wanted this to be live, so you see this actually working. And now, yes, if you have questions, I will let JB answer. And if there's no questions, maybe we can speak a bit about VIA. Maybe Jim or JB.
Yes, so VIA is really the solution for us to go cross-chain. So it's an optimistic bridge. There are many others around, but we think we made some quite unique trade-offs compared to every optimistic bridges we've looked at out there in the market. We never absolutely wanted to be in the bridging business, but if you look today, I think other bridge providers like probably Connext are actually made a big announcement last week, and they're actually launching a message bridge that is very close to what we are doing with VIA. But we think that VIA is still more decentralized because as I was showing earlier, the relayers, the challenger, like anyone can actually participate in this protocol. Whereas in many other bridge protocols, like Connext, it's a permission set of addresses and probably a small one. Whereas in our case, potentially there's no limit to how many participants may be involved. For example, if Kleros has a partner who is on a specific chain, and we need the absolute really high level of reliability, we could, both our teams, run dozens of small clients, light clients, and like anyone could actually participate. There's no whitelisting required, and yeah, there is no admin role. The contracts cannot be upgraded. It was, to be honest, a pain during the preparation for this demo, because we sometimes deployed with the wrong parameters, and we had to redeploy the whole thing just for one value to change. But yeah, I think we'll communicate more about this in the coming weeks.
Yeah, and we're also counting on you guys to help us. Promote VIA and to make it better known in all of the Web3 ecosystem, because it's a great solution and it was developed at Kleros, and we want more people to be involved. So yeah, please, everything you can do to help, go ahead. I will let Jean continue with this.
We will start publishing more content about VIA for people to understand the proposition. I believe it's something that is very different than than the current bridges, and it's also important that it's a bridge that Kleros built, the Kleros building, because it's useful for the roadmap of V2. But it's something that we want the whole ecosystem to use. So that's it's built for anyone to use, not just Kleros, but that's why it would be nice to have other partners using it. So yeah, we will share more details in the coming weeks.
Guys, any question? Any congratulations to JB for the presentation? Yeah, that was awesome, JB. Good job. Any comments?
So JB, what's different in V2 about the appeal system? Is it easier to integrate the court as a developer?
Oh yes, good question. Thank you. I forget to mention that. So it's different because in V1 the appeal system is implemented on the arbitrable side, which has made them actually quite complex. So in V2, this mechanism is moved to the arbitrator side, what we call the dispute kits. So that's also going to allow us to experiment with different appeal models by having multiple dispute kits with specific features. So overall, it should make integration easier going forward.
And by the way, this will solve the problem, the corner case where, there was, maybe William, you can explain this, what happened, this corner case between the arbitrable and arbitrator problem.
Yeah, there
are complicated one. Yeah. There was something about overridden rulings or something like that.
Yeah, so they're like, as JB said, in the sort of current model under the arbitration standard that Kleros is using, the arbitrable contract handles all of the appeal logic, and all of the sort of determining like whether there should be an appeal or not is happening in the arbitrable contract. And then like the arbitrator, Kleros, just sees, okay, I need like to have another appeal or not. And in particular, it doesn't see the arbitrable contract can use sort of complicated logic to determine what the final ruling from its perspective is on its side, including whatever the appeals were happening. And this allows different kinds of appeals for different kinds of arbitrable contracts. Like maybe you want a crowdfunding mechanism, maybe you want to have like the loser of the dispute round always have to pay the appeal fees. And we've learned with time that one, like crowdfunding is usually the way to go for most applications. Two, as JB was talking about, like having the appeal logic and the arbitrable contract has made it more complicated for integrations. But also the fact that the arbitrator can't necessarily trust the arbitrable. Any contract can ask Kleros, "Hey, I have this question. Please answer my question," and the court contract can't trust the arbitrable contracts that it sees. It can't take information from them to use within its own sort of incentives and rewards beyond just the creation of a question or not. So this is how the consequence that if a crowdfunding round has overturned the results of a Kleros ruling, then the court doesn't see that. It doesn't know that the sort of like implemented ruling changed. So when people, when the community has some consensus around, okay, like Alice is right in this Alice versus Bob case, and like Alice, Bob won an appeal, like won a voting round, but then Alice was funded and Bob wasn't because Bob doesn't really have a very good case. It probably doesn't make sense to fund him. The court still sees Bob as winning, so jurors that voted for Alice are penalized, which is not great. And this has created like a handful of edge cases in the court incentives. There are a couple of sort of exotic attacks that we've imagined that we haven't really seen been implemented, but like that we've tried to parameterize the court parameters to defend against. In the model where the crowdfunding will be part of the arbitrator contract, we don't have to worry about that anymore.
Yeah, so it was frustrating for some people, so this is going to be solved. And another important thing that we will have is two more things we're mentioning. So first, we will have course where people can, before they need to be registered in proof of humanity in order to be chosen. So this is important because some people want only some people from the community to be jurors, and this is one of the things that V2 will enable. And also different decision logics. For example, we are currently working with a potential partner, and they instead of having like a binary decision that we like how Kleros works now, they want the decision to be made from 1 to 10, right? So jurors, they don't have to choose between two options. They have to rank between 1 to 10, so the fulfillment of some situation. And this is, launch of V2 is going to enable that type of decision logic, which is extremely, extremely important for a number of use cases that we are, working on, but are not feasible at the moment because of how Kleros V1 works, basically. So this is going to be very important for a bunch of new use cases. And on top of this, the fact that the court is going to be like way cheaper, we presented in the past some estimations of how much cheaper Kleros 2.0 is compared to the current version. This would enable also a number of use cases in content moderation, like freelancing translation, microtasking, and a bunch of different use cases that are not very feasible at the moment. And then get started on how we can start using SVTs in order to better choose jurors, because we are still working on that, and William is researching that. It would be for a full different, session, but this is going to be also in the roadmap, and this is also what the dispute kits enable us to do that we cannot do at the moment. So guys, I guess that's it for today. Thank you all for joining. I'm super excited about what's coming, and I'm super happy that you got to see this working, as we have been promising this for a while, and now you saw it working in a live presentation, so you can verify everything on the blockchain, every transaction was done. So yeah, thank you for coming, and enjoy this very, very special POAP, and see you around. Bye-bye, guys.
See you. Bye-bye.